everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers have put a name on Anthony Davis's injury. And is D'Angelo Russell going to stay on the bench? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your very first listen of Everyday Monday. Before you even listen to the people who might be around in your house, if you get up, it's your first listen of every day. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, of course, is where you can find this show. It is never, ever going to be behind a paywall. None of these things. Over 26,000 subscribers, Andy, all of whom are really hoping that the Lakers can scratch out a win against the Philadelphia 76ers that won't have the suspended Joel Embiid, the injured Tyrese Maxey, and while they will have Paul George, he's apparently still on a minutes restriction. So they're at home. First game back from the trip. They say, Andy, the first game back from the trip is always a challenge. This needs to not be a bigger challenge than you're like, you got to win this one. Like, the Sixers are terrible right now, and none of their good players are playing.
It's extremely important that the Lakers win this game. I mean, beyond just the practical implications of you don't want to fall below 500, all the stuff that we've seen from the Lakers having slow starts over the last few seasons, the vibes for this team began immaculate. And all seasons go through vibe shifts. They all go through adversity. Like that. Even the closest of teams and teams that love being around their coach and everybody's simpatico and kumbaya and all that crap, everybody deals with the ups and downs over the course of a season. However, given that we are talking about a brand new head coach that has never done this before and seems like he is already starting to, I'm not going to say lose patience because it's too early to lose patience, but his patience is starting to be tested more than I think he expected heading into game 9, or really heading into a game about 6 or 7, because this has clearly been building. And, you know, one of the positives of continuity and carryover is that is hopefully something that leads to immediate chemistry. You can build on what's there, all that stuff. But the flip side is, if there's been lingering issues and there's continuity, combine them with new bad vibes, that can bring stuff to the surface. So again, it's very important on a lot of levels that they win this game.
Especially, since Anthony Davis, who missed the game on Wednesday. is probable for tonight. We'll talk about the update on his health, but he is expected to play. The Lakers are expected to have, their available complement of players. You just you got, like you say, like the vibe thing is bad, but you can always say it's like it was a long road trip. We had some injury problems. AD didn't play the last game. Rui
Dudes are sick.
Right. Just like these things happen, like whatever. But now we're home. You get a good feeling. Go beat a Sixers team that doesn't have its players. And because of that, if they manage to lose tonight, you're under 500. It starts like, the good start looks like a fluke, because even though the Lakers have been a bad road team now for a few years running, they were a good home team last year. So it's like you can say, like, okay, we're sort of holding serve. We're learning to do these other things. I mean, I actually am pretty confident about tonight's game. I do think they're going to come out and play well. I think they are going to be highly motivated to make sure that they get a win in this game. And I think, they are lucky in the sense that while the Sixers, without Maxey and without Embiid and with a restricted Paul George, aren't completely without any kind of talent. They have NBA players on that roster. Like, those are the frontline guys. Everybody else is a role player is, a depth guy or something like that. Like, this is just a team that you ought to be better than. And if you don't win, like you say, the vibes continue to get worse. Doing to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup that probably won't include any 76ers. So I'm confident about tonight. The Anthony Davis part of it, getting him back on the floor after just that one game, it seemed like that was going to be the case, given how close he apparently was to playing in Memphis on Wednesday. But until you see it, it's not a thing. And it does seem like AD is going to play, despite Andy. There finally being a real diagnosis other than contusion or sore heel.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. This is not a diagnosis. This is a report. According to Shams Charania, AD is dealing with plantar fasciitis. He described it on I believe it was a Sports Center, certainly an ESPN segment, as a nagging foot injury. He's been dealing with it since the end of the summer, played through it with Team USA. Did note, as you did, that AD is considered probable to play in this game. And I don't want to get ahead of myself in terms of what to do with this information, because if it's something that Anthony Davis largely plays through and largely plays well, then okay, the guy's kicking ass with plantar fasciitis, and kudos to him for being able to handle the pain. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, unless it's something where he is risking serious injury to his foot that could keep him out months, require surgery, yada, yada, yada. I would imagine that a lot of this comes down to pain tolerance, probably throw in some really cushy orthotics, and you hope that he can get through the thing.
Plantar fasciitis is basically, it's an inflammation of the fascia tissue in your foot. I mean, this explains why he was saying his heel really hurts. I guess is the place in his injury that hurts the most, but can start in the heel. It runs all the way up the arch of the foot, and it's really annoying. It's not.
I've had it. It's painful. It's very painful.
Not uncommon in this, but it's for basketball players. But it is really annoying, and it can linger. So the concern is that you can eventually tear the fascia, is my understanding. But obviously this is something that they're all paying attention to, they're alert to, and they're treating it. But it's one of these things where, like, you kind of wish the chronic thing that we now know about it happened, like, oh yeah, I know he suffered this injury and it's going to be something to deal with for the rest of the year. It would be nice if that happened in game 28 as opposed to game 8, now entering game 9. Like, we didn't get very far in the every day we're gonna have to check to see if Anthony Davis's plantar fasciitis is gonna keep him in street clothes before. I just would have liked a little bit more. It would have made me feel better.
I'll be honest. I think most Laker fans by now treat Anthony Davis fairly or unfairly as a day-to-day proposition with his health, and are always monitoring and checking for something. So whether they are now checking for something that is totally specific or checking for something that they are doom casting in their heads, they were doing this anyway.
I'm just saying, I wish they'd check him and they'd be like, nothing there. He's doing great. And you got like 25 games before the chronic injury kicks in. But at the very least, right now, it seems like he's going to be able to play. Like, some games, most games, maybe a lot of games. I don't know. I mean, we'll see going forward. But he's going to play in this game, and so I feel like we think he is listed as probable. Generally speaking, when you get up to that categorization, usually going to play. The question becomes, what is the rest of the team looking like around him? What does the rotation look like? Do all of the starters stay the starters for the long term? We'll discuss next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks, as little as 4 correct picks. Some potential items you could be picking more or less on. Luka Doncic, more than 31.5 points. Steph Curry is back. Yes. More than 4 3-pointers in a game. Anthony Davis, more than 11 rebounds. Again, make sure he's playing. Giannis, more than 29.5 points. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including Cali, Texas, Georgia. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance. So your lineups, they stay in play. Even if one of your players gets injured, you can collect your winnings in 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Again, code LOCKEDONNBA on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Locked On Lakers also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this weekend with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, Andy, right this very second, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So you get a little hunch, a little tickle behind the ear, whatever it might be. You check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. And you kind of, you've got a premonition, Andy. You can act on it. So just visit visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so the most interesting story to come out, I guess aside from Anthony Davis' injury, the most interesting story to come out of the Memphis game, at least in my opinion, was J.J. Redick sitting D'Angelo Russell down for the final 17 and a half minutes or so. D'Lo only played 21 minutes of the game, didn't play after the 5:54 mark of the third quarter. This is what J.J. Redick said when asked why D'Lo didn't play. Quote, again, just the level of compete, attention to detail. Some of the things I've talked with him about for a couple of weeks, and at times he's been really good with that stuff. At times it's just reverting back to certain habits, but it wasn't like a punishment. It just felt like for us to have a chance to win this game. That was the route we wanted to take. So, I mean, say it doesn't. Punishment kind of feels like a punishment. Had he not been playing the way he was, he wouldn't have been removed. I mean, he was at the very least punished for his poor play. It's the first negative thing that I can think of with Redick and D'Lo in terms of how Redick is describing the way D'Lo is playing. Like really true, like genuinely, like that is that's pretty pointed criticism from your coach in the postgame. To this point, most of the time when Redick is talking about Russell, it's been in pretty glowing terms about his leadership at practice and, being a voice. Like I forget who it was. It might have been, I think it was Dan Woike who asked him about, from the LA Times, who asked D'Lo or asked Russell, Redick a question about Russell's leadership and like what he can do to become a better leader. And he's like, his voice has been one of our most active. That's what Redick, he's taken a lot of opportunities to compliment D'Lo, and to hear him say both what he said on Wednesday and that, like, look, we've been on him for a couple weeks about this stuff, runs a little bit counter to what he's been saying publicly. And I don't think it's an accident.
Well, it's interesting because it's not just it's not just offering negative criticism of D'Lo. It's, to the best of my recollection, the only player thus far that he's been that specific about negatively. And while he made it very clear that other than a few guys on the team, most notably LeBron, in Memphis, he was unhappy with the effort of a lot of guys. Like, the effort was not a D'Lo thing. D'Lo is the only guy who got pointed out by name this specifically. And obviously, JJ didn't go there proactively. He was asked, but coaches always have the opportunity to mask this stuff, lie, couch it, whatever, or, offer carrot and stick. This was pretty straightforward. And it's interesting on a couple levels to me. First, the idea of whether or not this leads to a lineup change. Were I to guess for Friday, it will not.
No, not this quickly. I would agree with you.
Right. If for no other reason than to not just give D'Lo a chance to do better, but to see how D'Lo responds.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, though, that I found interesting about this, and this is actually something I talked about earlier in the week on my show Lakers Talk for ESPN LA 710. It's a weekly Lakers show that I do. And this was before the Memphis game.
When is that on, Andy?
Typically Mondays 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific, but because the station carries different games, including Laker games, we are sometimes preempted when either the Lakers, the Rams, or World Series, whatnot, happens on a Monday, but typically 7 to 9.
Any non-sportsy LA sportsy Monday, 7 to 9. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I knew when I could tune in.
Appreciate that. But something I talked about heading into that Memphis game, the bench, we've talked about ad nauseum, is not producing at all. And it is a real problem for the team. And it's a serious issue for the team, like how much strain is being put on the starters to produce. And JJ Redick has said both that he is not expecting this to be an explosive bench collectively, but he's also acknowledged, like, I do need guys to be putting up more shots. Like, I think he actually caught himself talking about Gabe, not by name, but about Gabe Vincent, saying that I need someone to play.
He can't play 18 minutes and not shoot.
Right. And then, said, like, it's not all on him. Like, I think he realized that, this sounds like I'm just blasting Gabe. And I think he was trying to walk it back a bit. That said, though, yes, Gabe cannot play 18 minutes without putting up a shot. But anyway, this got me thinking about the idea of, at some point, changes may need to come to the rotation because they need to come to the rotation because the bench just is not producing enough. And at the same time, the D'Lo Reeves backcourt has its own issues defensively that not sure are sustainable for what they want to do anyway. And if they were going to break that group up, D'Lo is almost certainly the guy that is going to the bench. And my hope in that situation was that D'Lo would be playing well, or certainly well enough, so that if this move happened, JJ Redick can look him in the face and say, look, man, this is not about you. This is about the team. This is not a demotion of you. This is not anything you are doing wrong. This is about, I need you to do this because our bench is not producing at all, and I need someone to take on this role. This is not an indictment of the way you're playing. That becomes much easier for everybody involved to believe, whether you're talking about D'Lo or fans, media, whoever, if D'Lo is at least meeting a baseline level of play and his coach is not saying that he isn't dialed in. So, and the reason this matters, by the way, is if D'Lo gets moved to the bench, how he handles it is an issue. So all things being equal, this potential move would be set up better if D'Lo was playing well and it truly was just, we need you to take one for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not saying you like it. I'm saying
you wouldn't like it
better.
either way. And certainly if you did it now, it would seem like a demotion because
absolutely.
you're not playing well. I am sort of a little torn on this because I think the starting lineup obviously is more functional than the bench. I mean, like you say, there's a fair amount of space between what they have now and the explosive. Like, not, you can expect them not to be explosive. There's still a lot of wiggle room between there and what they are now. But I wonder if there's an element, and I'm not trying to call the Lakers the Titanic, but like of sort of rearranging the deck chairs. If you take D'Lo and you move him to the bench or move Reeves to the bench or whatever, that is trying to paper over a problem in a way that I'm not entirely sure would work. So we'll talk about that. And then interesting news and time that you spent, Andy, on Thursday among the G-Leaguers. This is relevant. Bronny on his way down there, getting a little idea of what the development plan is, but also you had a chance to talk about the development plan with the head coach. So we'll get to all that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Skims. I am someone who's actually really picky about underwear. I only wear boxer briefs. I need them to have a certain feel. I don't want them too tight, too loose. It's like Goldilocks. They got to be just right. And when I heard that we at Locked On could try out some Skims underwear, my first thought was, Skims makes men's underwear? And it's like, yeah, they do. A lot of different styles. And then I'm like, well, am I going to like them? And the answer is, oh, yeah, I'm going to like them. I tried the 3-inch and 5-inch boxer briefs, and they are both awesome. They are both super comfortable. They don't bunch up. They feel great between my skin and my jeans. Like, I highly, highly recommend the Skims underwear. Shop Skims men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. This is very important. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey. Select our show in the drop-down menu that follows, Locked On Lakers. Again, very important. We want credit. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com.
So I'm not trying to say, just kind of final word on this rotation, hypothetical rotation changes, like what can you do? I think ultimately a couple things need to happen. They need a baseline of production from the bench, like something that is just like, okay, it's not good. You're not going to want to compare it to 75% of the benches around the league where you get better scoring this, but like you can put people out there. They will take shots. They will occasionally make a shot. Gabe Vincent goes from being a real negative offensively, the amount when he is shooting a lot, they're not going in, to normal, not great, or neutral or something. Max Christie gets somewhere closer to the guy that, people were hoping, including the Lakers, especially the Lakers, we're hoping he'd be, this season. You get something closer to that. That needs to happen. And then to make it so you are not quite as focused on maybe some of the shortcomings, a guy like D'Lo, who, when you what is he shooting, like 30-something% right now? Like that is not tolerable for a team like this from a player of his caliber. Reeves, everybody's got to be better, but like there are certain things, we'd be better if he was turning the ball over a little bit more than he has been, but he was shooting 44% from 3-point range. I'd make that trade. They can't afford that specifically from him because of his role in the offense. So, I would give what they've got a little bit more time because I don't trust the people that would end up in the starting lineup. I don't think that'll help. And maybe you jimmy around with when people are coming in and out of games. That's probably how I would do it. But a lot of things need to improve in both the bench and the.
Yeah, I'm not even lobbying for a change. I'm just saying the idea that it would happen is not out of the question because things as currently constructed are not working.
Yeah, I would agree. So you were down in El Segundo on Thursday talking to the G-Leaguers. It's their second day of practice or training camp or whatever it is. And relevant in part because Bronny, the Lakers announced they sort of talked about the training plan. He was sent down to the G-League South Bay Lakers and is going to be playing home games with them and then presumably traveling with team. So kind of an interesting way that they're doing it for now.
Yeah, for now should be stressed. We'll see how it goes moving forward. But Bronny's G-League season will begin Saturday when the Lakers, the South Bay Lakers, have their first game. I was down in El Segundo for this because I had a sit down with Zach Guthrie, the new South Bay Lakers coach. It's going to be on Lakers Talk this coming Tuesday, 7:10. I found him a very bright guy. He is very excited at this opportunity to be coaching the team at a time when they are really leaning into development. He also, too, coached J.J. Redick as an assistant for half a season in Orlando and half a season in Dallas. So he had a bit of a rapport with J.J. heading into this. There are a few items that I wanted to get to in terms of most of the players are made available, and I asked some questions. But just because we could all use a little positivity with the Lakers right now, this clip of Quincy Oliveri, when I asked him just what it's been like for him right now, in particular with the world kind of just smiling for him.
There have been a lot of people over the last few weeks who've really enjoyed this moment for you. It's been covered on ESPN, things like
crazy.
That. What's that been like for you, just to see people enjoy this for you?
It's crazy. It's a lot of people that have been reaching out just saying that I'm like real genuine, and I don't even know how to respond to that because I just feel like I'm being myself. But my dad talk about it. My grandma actually just texted me last night when I showed her my new necklace. I have my family's name across my neck on my new gold chain, and she said, "What's my celebrity relative doing?" I'm like, "Nah, Mama, I'm just playing a video game like what I always do." So it's honestly surreal because I'm still the same person without the media coverage. It just happens to be that I gained like 60,000 followers and I have all this attention now. But it's honestly, it's insane.
People seem happy for you.
Yeah, they are, and I appreciate that. But that doesn't define who I am as a person because at the end of the day, I still have to handle my business. It's not like the Lakers are listening to the media, the coaches aren't listening to the media. It's all about what do I do every day to put myself into a position to succeed.
He also, both before the media scrum started and then after it ended, went up to all of us, shook our hands. Like, I'm telling you, this kid is so easy to root for and so likable. It's funny too, like somebody made a joke, like, in talking with us, "Oh, you're just looking to steal our jobs later." And he's like, "I am." And it turns out, like, I guess his dad growing up was in media, and like did a similar type job or was involved in media. He didn't specify what, but like he is really easy to root for. And you can just see how much this opportunity means to him. And, when I talked to Zach Guthrie about Oliveri, like everyone who talks about him, just said, hell of a person. And you just like being around him.
I'm really looking forward to when we get to see him at the crypt in those couple times a year that the Memphis Grizzlies visit. So we can really see how he's developed. Because that seems to be where all two-way players.
Easy.
I feel like if he were like a true point guard, Bronny would probably not be traveling. Like,
I don't know.
I think if the need was there, they'd find a way. He's probably somebody they feel as confident in to do stuff. The need's just not there, at least not yet.
Speaking of point guards, though, I asked Jalen Hood-Schifino. Everybody knows his third-year option was not picked up by the team, which is, it might start becoming a little less uncommon. You pointed this out to me, Brian. We were talking offline. Just
in apron world, where the punitive taxes and all these other things for players that I think it used to be just sort of, all right, well, of course you'd pick up a $4 million option for your first round pick from 2 years ago, but now, and there were I think we were 6 players from that class that did not have their contracts picked up, or the options in their contracts picked up.
But like, he talked before about before I asked him this question, he talked about like he's really realizing the importance of he needs to be more vocal, period. He needs to be more of a vocal leader. It's not just enough to try to lead by example or just work hard. Like as a point guard, that's what you're supposed to do. Like he is aware that he has been written off in perception. And I asked him, just like as a professional, very young in your career, what is it like for you to have this type of uncertainty, with a third-year option not getting picked up? And he said, quote, I mean, it happened. So for me, I just got to continue to get better. There's still an opportunity to get better, to learn, playing at the G-League, big team or what, big team or not, just opportunities will be there. So at the end of the day, for me, I just got to continue to take it day by day and take advantage of anything that comes my way. And I also asked him, like, where do you think you are in your development, given that you're young, you're learning a very hard position, and you've missed a lot of time? And he said, and this was this thing that really jumped out at me. He said, quote, it's easy for me to try to beat myself up and how I've been playing. So I just staying positive, continue to put God first, and everything will align and work out where it's supposed to be. And he's like, I'm 21, I've had multiple surgeries. Like this is difficult. And I really feel for him hearing him talk about this. Like this has to be extremely difficult for JHS.
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time, as basketball fans, like you just said, this guy sucks. This guy, he's a bust. He's, and I mean, to some degree, it comes with the gig. Like this is, what they sign up, but like, especially with younger players, and we've never been the types of hosts, writers, podcasters, radio people who like really root against individual players, like root for people to fail. It's just, I don't like doing that. I think it's karmically bad idea. It's none of it is good. But particularly with young players, like you forget, like this is what Jalen Hood-Schifino has been trying to work towards probably since he was 10, if maybe younger. And to get there, which is an enormous accomplishment, and instantly have it go as wrong as it has. And it's hard to picture a first couple of years of a player's career going as poorly as this one has. And it's like he's a young guy, and he's just, when you hear somebody say it's like really easy for me to beat myself up, it makes me think like this is probably part of the reason the Lakers aren't having him travel. It's like, just go play. We need you to go play. We don't need you sitting on a bench as an emergency point guard is not going to do us any good. It's not going to do you any good. You need to go play. And I think to some degree too, like we kind of need you to rehab your appeal.
Yeah.
Sure. If you go down there and play well, now you probably aren't going to cost, the $4 million from next year if somebody wants to re-sign you, if we trade you, whatever it might be. Like go rehab go play, and we'll see what happens. It's just it's a bummer. It's a real bummer for guys like that because he seems like a really solid person, and these guys work so hard to get to this place. And even as we evaluate them, and I'm not here to say like, Hood-Schifino has played great and this, whatever, but like you do have to remember that these are young people who are at the bad end of a really difficult time.
I also asked Maxwell Lewis, because we talked about before, like sort of what his lane and his position is in the NBA has been frankly difficult to ascertain. And he talked about he's trying to work to just simplify everything that he does, make quick decisions on the court, break the habit of, kind of dribble jabbing too much with the ball, just do something quickly. But I asked him what he pictured, like his prototype in the NBA, if he could do that. And he mentioned early Mikal Bridges, and he said he's been watching a lot of film on him, I'm presuming in his Phoenix days. And he said he just keeps it simple, and he's really decisive. Now I feel later on down the line, I want to get back to what I feel like I can do, more of like a Rudy Gay, Paul George, maybe down those years. But right now I'm just trying to stick in the league and show what I can do. I mean, the other stuff is maybe getting ahead of themselves, but I like that he was very specific in the way he talked about Bridges.
We'll quit on this, but like, this is what a development program is supposed to do. It's supposed to help players identify both the skill that can get them into the NBA, but specifically can get them in the NBA in a way that'll help the Lakers. And it's not about turning all these guys into stars. It's turning them into viable NBA players. And if you can do that with players you sign on two-way contracts after the draft, it is a massive, massive win. And so the Lakers clearly have identified guys with NBA potential. Again, they're all playing in Memphis right now. They just need to do a better job of figuring out how they can actually hold on to some of these players that can have some value. That's both a talent identification thing. It's a talent identification. It's a player development thing, and then it's also a roster management thing. So you actually have room to use these guys if they do show potential. So anyway, we'll be back after tonight's game, hopefully talking about a win to cleanse the palate. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers. See you after the game.